Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Today, we'll be diving into a comprehensive exploration of child psychological development and disorders. Our focus will be on how biological, psychological, social, and cultural factors all come together to shape a child's mental health. By understanding these different perspectives, we can better appreciate the complexity of child development and improve our approaches to intervention. I'm excited to share this journey with you. Let's get started. When we look at child psychological problems, it's important to understand that multiple factors come into play. A child's development is shaped by a complex mix of influences at the individual level, within their family, community, and even their broader cultural environment. Jorge's case is a clear example of this complexity. He faces significant struggles at school, reading below his grade level, which is one part of the challenge. Alongside these academic difficulties, Jorge also experiences anxiety and fear around going to school, and both teachers and parents frequently criticize him. These emotional and behavioral issues are closely tied to his academic struggles. To really understand what's going on with Jorge, we have to look at a wide range of possible causes, including intellectual factors, emotional and behavioral challenges, family dynamics, and cultural influences. Only by considering all these layers can we grasp the full picture of a child's psychological difficulties. When we look at the causes of child problems, it's important to understand that they come from multiple sources. First, biological influences play a big role. This includes genetic predispositions a child may inherit, conditions they experience before birth, and how their brain develops, all of which can shape their temperament and how they learn. Next, emotional influences are crucial. A child's ability to manage their emotions and handle stress or fear can significantly impact their motivation and focus in everyday situations. Then we have behavioral and cognitive factors. These are about the child's past learning experiences, behaviors they might avoid, and their thought patterns, for example. If they believe they can't succeed, that belief can hold them back. Finally, family, cultural, and social influences come into play. Parenting styles, cultural expectations, relationships with peers, and challenges adapting to different cultural environments all affect how children regulate emotions and adjust to school life. Each of these areas interacts to shape a child's overall development and well-being. When we talk about the role of theories in child psychopathology, it's important to recognize that theories serve as frameworks to organize and communicate what we know. They're not just abstract ideas. They actually allow us to make predictions about behavior and guide empirical research to explore those behaviors further. Moving on to etiology, which is the study of causes, we see that child disorders don't arise from a single source. Instead, they emerge from a complex interplay of biological, psychological, and environmental factors. This means we can't rely on one-dimensional or traditional models that look at just one cause. These old models fall short because they don't capture the dynamic and multifaceted nature of child disorders. That's why adopting an integrative and multidimensional perspective is crucial. It helps us consider multiple interacting causes and how these influences change over time. Finally, these theoretical formulations are incredibly valuable for clinicians. They provide a framework to develop deeper, more nuanced questions and hypotheses, steering us away from simplistic explanations and toward a richer, more comprehensive understanding of abnormal development in children. When we look at developmental psychopathology, we focus on how abnormal child psychology ties into key developmental milestones across physical, cognitive, social, and emotional areas. This perspective is built on three important assumptions. First, abnormal development doesn't have a single cause. It's influenced by multiple interacting factors. Second, there's a two-way interaction between the child and their environment. They constantly influence each other. Third, development isn't just a smooth, continuous process. It includes both gradual changes and sudden shifts in behavior over time. The approach also draws from multiple disciplines, emphasizing how complex and intertwined both healthy and problematic development really are. Adaptational failure happens when a child doesn't achieve the developmental milestones expected for their age, and this is often seen in various psychological disorders. Development itself is organized and hierarchical, meaning that early skills build the foundation for more complex abilities later on. There are sensitive periods during development, specific windows of time when experiences have a much stronger influence on shaping the brain and behavior. While early experiences critically shape brain architecture, it's important to remember that change can still occur outside these sensitive periods. By understanding this organized progression, we can better see how setbacks or disruptions at one stage can affect outcomes much later in life. Brain development actually starts before we're even born, with a rapid growth of neurons and the formation of countless synaptic connections. Early on, the brain produces more synapses than it ultimately needs, and this surplus is then trimmed down through a process called selective pruning. This pruning is heavily influenced by our experiences and environment, essentially shaping the brain's wiring based on what we're exposed to. A key factor in this process is neural plasticity, which is the brain's amazing ability to adapt continuously. It strengthens the connections we use frequently and eliminates the ones we don't, helping the brain become more efficient. There are also sensitive periods during development, times when environmental input plays a critical role in shaping brain areas responsible for our emotions, thinking, and motor skills. These windows are especially important for healthy brain maturation. Genes lay the biological groundwork by producing proteins that shape how we tend to respond to our surroundings, but they don't directly cause behaviors. In behavioral genetics, researchers look at family and twin similarities to tease apart what comes from our genes and what comes from our environment. On a more detailed level, molecular genetics hones in on specific gene variations that are linked to certain disorders. Importantly, gene-environment interactions, or G/E, including epigenetic changes, help us understand why some people only develop disorders when exposed to particular environmental factors. Ultimately, genes and the environment influence development in a dynamic, ongoing interplay, constantly shaping each other. Here, we're looking at the brainstem, which plays a critical role in controlling the body's most basic life-sustaining functions. It manages vital autonomic processes such as breathing, heart rate, and blood pressure. These functions happen automatically, without any conscious effort from us, making the brainstem essential for survival. Understanding how the brainstem works gives us a foundation for grasping more complex neurobiological processes. When we talk about emotional functioning, two key components stand out: emotion reactivity and emotion regulation. Emotion reactivity refers to how intensely and sensitively someone responds to emotions, while emotion regulation is about how well they can control those emotional responses. Both are crucial for adapting effectively to life's challenges. Temperament plays a major role here. It's an innate behavioral style that shows up early in life and shapes how emotions develop, as well as the risk for psychological disorders. There are a few main types of temperament. Some children display positive affect and approach, often called an easy temperament. Others might be more fearful or inhibited, sometimes described as slow to warm up. Then there are those with a tendency toward negative affect or irritability, known as difficult temperament. Parenting also has a significant impact on emotional health. Healthy emotional development depends on a balanced ability to self-regulate emotions, which is fostered by sensitive and responsive parenting. When this balance is off, emotional dysregulation can contribute to psychological problems. Finally, it's important to recognize that these early emotional styles are not just temporary. They often shape personality and affect well-being throughout a person's life. Understanding these connections highlights why early emotional experiences and support matter so much. Behavioral theories help us understand child behavior by focusing on how learning processes shape actions. Applied behavior analysis, or ABA, looks at how behaviors are influenced by what happens before and after them, things like reinforcement, which strengthens behavior, or punishment, which aims to reduce it. Then we have classical conditioning, which explains how children can develop learned associations, such as linking a neutral stimulus to an unpleasant experience. Social learning theory goes a step further by emphasizing that children learn not only through direct experience, but also by observing others. It highlights how they develop mental images of themselves and the social environment around them. Finally, cognitive distortions and attributional biases are ways of thinking that can negatively affect a child's emotions and behaviors. Understanding these patterns is crucial because it allows us to design interventions that address both thoughts and behaviors effectively. Here, we're looking at Bronfenbrenner's ecological model, which helps us understand how different environmental layers influence an individual's development. Think of it like a series of nested circles. At the center, you have the immediate family, the people we interact with most directly. Surrounding that are broader social contexts, like friends, schools, and community groups. Beyond that, even wider cultural ideologies and societal norms shape our experiences and behaviors. This model is crucial because it shows that our development is not just about individual traits, but deeply connected to the social and cultural environments we live in. It reminds us to consider all these layers when thinking about human growth and behavior. As we look ahead in understanding child mental health, there's a clear shift happening in how we approach it. Instead of focusing on just one factor, modern perspectives emphasize integrative models. This means we consider multiple influences at once, recognizing that both individual characteristics and environmental factors interact in complex ways. By moving toward this more holistic and interactive view, we can better grasp the full picture of what affects a child's mental health and tailor support more effectively.